Okay, I'm going to give Kiro a run. It's Amazon's cursor competitor, basically. I've never used it before, just downloaded it, opened it up. I've got a project running, or a project file open that I know very well. It's OpenSAS, which is a free open source SAS boilerplate template that I created. So I have no plan. I'm just going to, give it a spin. So it's up and running. The first thing I notice is this bar on the left side that's got specs, agent hooks, and steering. And I assume steering is, like cursor rules or some rules files. Then the chat has vibe and spec. And vibe seems like the normal chat, and spec seems like they've taken care of the whole planning, PRD, to-do list process that a lot of people do manually, or that other apps like Taskmaster do. So I think that's a good place to start. OpenSAS already has built-in like an OpenAI API example app, which is like this day scheduler thing, file upload, and then pricing pages and stuff. So I'm not sure what I'll do, but maybe that's a good question to ask. Let's ask Kiro. So I'll say something like, check out my project structure in, let's see, so adding doesn't do what you would expect it to do. You add context with hashtag. Okay, so instead of @ it's hashtag. And then let's say, let's do folder, and we want template, but I want to do like a, let's see, folder, and then it says type to search. So it'd be template /app. Okay, and then it gets it. A little confusing there. And I'll say, check out my project structure in template app and suggest a feature improvement for me on one of the features. It's got autopilot on and it's using Claude 4.0. I noticed you can only, in the public preview here, you can only choose between 4.0 and 3.7 between Claude Sonnet. So I'm a Gemini 2.5 Pro user personally. But yeah. All right, that was pretty fast. Okay, so it's suggesting AI-powered file analysis and processing. Organize uploaded files using AI. Extract text from PDFs, images, and documents. File insights dashboard. Search through file contents, not just name. So it's given that's a pretty cool example. It wants to go through our file upload feature. So in the app, we've got source, we've got everything organized full stack by feature. So we're doing like vertical slice in the OpenSAS template. So we've got everything in file upload. So we've got some helper functions, we've got the page, and then we've got the server-side operations. And because Wasp takes care of everything for us and glues everything together, we don't really have to worry about the Node.js server and all that stuff. So I think that would be a cool place to start. Let's take one of those, content extraction from images or PDFs. Why not? Let's just say, okay, I like this idea, but let's trim it down considerably. And let's stick with the vertical slice method implementation approach. And just add and just plan out the content extraction feature for images. All right, let's see what it does. Experiencing high volume traffic. Yeah, of course. All right, we just retry and it's working. I see you're working on tasks, spec sessions. Would you like to start a dedicated spec session for this best experience? Yes. Cool. That's pretty cool. It says working, so let's just follow while it does that. So it's pretty cool that it's able to recognize that you're creating a spec. Let's see if it does anything here on spec. Yeah, it's already, I guess it's creating MD files. What are these? What are these files? I don't know what they are. I know they're MDC. Oh, they must be Markdown. Markdown files, pretty typical. So it's creating a requirements doc, like basically a PRD, but it's, yeah, got a user story. So yeah, it's going pretty good. It's asking me if I like the requirements. So saying they want to upload images. They should be able to upload all these image formats and automatically extract the text using AI-powered OCR. I don't actually know anything about that, so this will be cool to see how far we can go. And I want to search through the text content of my uploaded images so I can quickly find specific images based on their content. I like that. I want to see the processing status of my images, and as an administrator, I want content extraction to respect user subscription limits so the AI processing costs are controlled, are properly gated. I'll just add it to the client reference. And I know, yes, you can. So you can reference another file, perhaps. So let's try, file. And I want to say file, template, app, source, demo AI app, operations. Reference that operations file for insight into how to gate payments for subscribed or paid users. I'll just leave it at that. All right, cool. Move to design phase. So yeah, there's a lot in common here with Cursor and the way you can add other files within the .mdc rules files. We're still in the spec. What I'm interested in is this generate steering docs. I mean, those are basically rules. So let's see. It's saying, do the requirements look good? We move on to design. So it's reading files. Yeah, and it's checking your existing AI integration to understand how OpenAI is set up. And it's creating a design doc. And I guess that will be in spec. Let's see. Where is that? It looks like it's within the same document. We have up here, we have a spec file that has a design and a task list. So it says it's creating, yeah. Okay, so it's all within the same file. That's interesting. Or it's referenced within the same file. Let's see what it says. So the architecture, user uploads image to the existing file upload system. File is stored in S3. Background job triggers content extraction using OpenAI Vision API. So Wasp has a jobs and cron jobs feature, or so like a jobs queue and a recurring jobs feature. So it makes it very easy to just, let's see here, I'll show you an example. You create a function, and then you, after you create your job function, what you want it to do, you define the job here, and then you can give it like a schedule or whatever. You can then use it as a job. You can use it as a queue really easily. So you just create a simple function like this, and then we can either pass that function now as a job and use it as a queue, or have it recurring on a recurring basis. So I'm curious to see whether it's able to pick up on that, or if it tries to create a queue or a background job in its own way. So it's going to extract content. Is stored in the database, linked to a file record, and user can search through extracted content via enhanced UI. So it's probably going to have to update the schema.prisma file. Yeah, and it's got that. It's picked up on our file already, our file model. And it's creating some interfaces for services. And it's got API operations. So in Wasp, all back-end functions, queries and mutations that happen that are contained within the app are referred to as operations, and APIs are only needed if you need a public-facing endpoint. So we probably don't need that because we're just doing everything within the app. So extends file. It's done a lot of stuff. I don't have time to read through all of it. It wants to do a testing strategy. I don't want it to test mock API responses and all that stuff. So I'm going to delete that. It really, the one thing I don't like so far is that it really is like jumping the gun, and it wants to do a lot. So I'm going to tell it to like take a step back. I'm going to say, okay, this looks good, but let's trim things down to make a simpler first implementation version, which we can expand on later. No need to give the more complex details. Implementation details now. So I want it to, yeah, just like I like doing the vertical slice implementation method where it's like very simple in the beginning, and then we can always build on the complexity after that. And that works really well for AI assisted coding because it has this simple basis from which it can expand on, and it already knows it has the context, so it's a bit easier. Like going for the big features right away, it's way easier to trip it up and to introduce a lot more errors. So let's see. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's create a much simpler, focused design. Unable to replace text. Trying a different approach. It's a public preview, so I'm not surprised stuff like that's happening. Let's see how well it can fix itself. Cool. Wow, that was quick. I kind of like how Cursor has a diff on its changes so that you can see. I'm going to take rid of that API thing there. And okay, it's simplified it a considerable amount, as you can see. That's why the diff would be kind of nice to see, because then you could really compare them. But let's just move to implementation phase. Okay, so design looks good. We're moving on to focused implementation. And yeah, you can see that they're just MD files, and then the way it like refers to them in this specs toolbar is by tabs. So this is really cool. This is something I haven't seen before, this start task. So we can just like click through these things as we go. So let's see, it's asking if the task looks good. Update database schema for content extraction. Add extracted content and these fields to the file model in schema.prisma. Create and run database migration with Wasp DB migrate dev, because that's the thing. Create content extraction utility function. It calls OpenAI Vision. Perfect. Let's keep that. That looks good. Create new server operation for content extraction and file uploads. Nice. So it's really respecting the project structure. Cool. That's quite a lot of tasks. Like, it broke it up very well. I don't want it to write unit tests at the moment. I think that's probably, we don't have time for that anyway. So yeah, finalize task list, and let's get cracking. Okay, so it's saying this spec phase is done. You can open tasks, click start task. The focused approach will give you a solid foundation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so in this section, like, it didn't ask me to accept changes and stuff like that or reject changes. It's only doing them and then giving you the option to revert. And it's not really showing diffs like I noticed, but maybe that's different for the actual project files. So let's just go here, click start task, and then we open a new chat window and it's executing. So let's follow where it's going. Let's see what files it's doing. It's going to be in file upload here. So let's see what it does. It's reading the schema.prisma, and it's going to add those fields. So let's go check out. Okay. Yeah, so now we're seeing the diff. And now it needs to run a database migration. And I like to wait and run database migrations myself, or like any CLI commands. I like to oversee them and, run them if I want. So I'm going to say, not trust command, but I always want to oversee that. So I'm going to run it. It's opened up a new terminal tab. And let's call this extracted file content. Cool. Let's go back to this one. Okay, let's say it's retry. Let's see what it happens. The model you selected has experienced a high volume of traffic. Try changing the model and rerunning your prompt. No, why don't you just force click retry until we get it? In progress. So does it? It knows that it's in progress. That's cool. I mean, cursor also does as well if you get stuck. These are added. Okay, so yes, it's checking up on its progress. It sees that it's done the migration already. I'm going to say skip it, or let's just accept. I don't think it needs to run it again. It'll probably just tell me it's all good. Okay, it's all good. Cool. Let me verify the database schema. Now let's skip that one. I don't want to reject. I feel like reject is going to stop the process, but I just want to. That would be nice if I could. Okay, so it understood. This task has been completed. Cool. Task 1 is complete. Let's go back to our spec and to our task list. Cool. And it's already updated that. Let's just like view the changes real quick, see how that looks. No changes. Okay. Interesting. View execution. All right, that's just that. Kind of cool. Doesn't seem to work that great though. Task in progress. It's pretty cool. I like. Meanwhile, let's just check up on our app. Everything seems to be working. We'll upload some files in a minute. I mean, I have to say we're at like 20 minutes already. So, but already I'm very impressed with the workflow here. And I think this might give Cursor a run for its money, to be honest. Because unless they can implement this stuff, having this task implementation thing already, this spec process already like baked in is kind of cool. I haven't had to generate any steering docs, any rules yet, and I might not have to. Agent hooks, I read a little bit about that before I started the video, where it's like it'll watch files and watch for certain actions or changes, and then it'll automatically run some processes that you define when it sees those changes. So that's pretty cool. I'm not really sure how to use it in this context, to be honest. Maybe you can always, every time it adds a new file or changes a file, we could git commit, for example. Okay, let's see what just happened here. It wanted to already install. Let me run a quick test to make sure there are no syntax errors in my implementation. Okay, let's accept command and see what it does. Private. What's going on here? Library, not my code. Let me check the TypeScript configuration to see if we can compile just my file. Okay, I'm gonna let it try this thing. I think it's like going a bit too much, but yeah. Try changing and rerunning your prompt. I'll try Cloud 7 if 3.7 if it keeps doing that, but didn't it already do that? Already created content extraction.ts. Pretty cool. Looks good. It's commented the code with JS doc comments, which is cool. Maybe a little redundant with TypeScript, but where's yeah, error handling. Accepted edits. So we're going OpenAI chat visions. So it's using G4o mini. I mean, it's got pretty good. Looks pretty good, to be honest. Image URL. Image URL. Okay, we get it from thing. Okay, so it's adding the error. Just added errors. And again, it added errors, and it doesn't show me a diff, which I'm like not super psyched on, but I'm sure they'll change that. Let me go to 3.7 because it keeps hanging up. Okay, so did all the changes, added the error, didn't show me, I mean, I guess it doesn't show a diff because it's the first time it's creating the file, so maybe that's my expectations are wrong there. But task is now completed. Let's go back. The thing I don't like is I know the hotkeys for like Explorer and search and stuff like that. I wish there was a hotkey for this Kiro thing. I guess I could always just go to requirements, tasks here, right? Okay. We're going to do task 3. All right, so it's creating a new server operation for content extraction, and it's reading the Wasp file, it's reading the schema.prisma, it knows where the backend operations exist and stuff. I mean, I gave it a little help in the spec, but it does a very good job without a large set of rules. It understands the code base, and yeah, pretty cool. I'm impressed. An unexpected error occurred. Okay, error implementing. Let's just retry. This is one of those times where you think like, with the amount of errors and stuff, am I saving time here? I don't know. Like, now that I see the OpenAI implementation, it's not that hard. We're passing it to the 4.0 vision model. Yeah, got file upload page, file uploading. I mean, giving it the URL, extract all text from the image with a little prompt. It's not crazy. It's not that hard. So these are one of these things where it's like you're impressed because you're not really touching the code, but with all these like retries and stuff, maybe I'd be just as fast. Again, it's updated. I mean, here we are, extract, it does it. That's cool. Did some Zod validation, runtime validation, which is pretty nice. It knows we're using that and doing that, just checking this stuff out from the other things, checking if the user is authenticated, checking if file is an extractable image type. It's updating with abstraction process, status processing. And where does extract content come from? Here. I mean, it's not quite a background job, but that's okay. We could always move it to Wasp's job feature. Cool, so it's done with task 3. Let's move to task 4. I'm just going to power through these tasks and try it out and see if it works. We have a few more tasks to go, so I might pause the video and come back when we're ready. Okay, I just had to wrestle with AWS permissions that wasn't working, but I realized that it was due to AWS course permission settings. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it implemented it great. I just had to figure out that error on AWS, on the AWS side, but check it out. You can choose a file. Here's one with some text in it, and click upload, and it will upload that, and then it will add the text extraction to a queue. You'll see it's pending here. And then once it's finished, it will invalidate the cache, it will update it, and then we'll be able to search files and content here. And you'll see the extracted text content from the image. Like this one was an MRR graph. So one of my SaaS apps, Cover Letter GPT, makes about $500, $600 a month, and it was able to extract the text from that and get it. So that's pretty sweet. Also extracted the CTO box text from one of our community builders who's building this app called CTO box. So yeah, a little kink to work out there on the cache invalidation side, but you know, it's doing credit countdown. It's see if we can search the text. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dope. So I'm pretty impressed with Kiro. Overall, they have some kinks to work out as far as their task queuing goes, and just a few things you can tell. It's early days, but I think they're on the right track. I'm sure Cursor will probably implement similar features. This whole spec and plan generation feature, but so far I'm kind of preferring the way Kiro does it at the moment, and if they can implement other models and stuff like that, I might switch over. So yeah, that's my review.